This is my face. Take it or leave it. They always say beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and I believe that to be true. There are some of you that may see this face on this meat suit that I am wearing and say, oh, that's attractive or something appealing. And then there are others who will see this meat suit in the flesh and say it is not attractive or not appealing. And that is okay. Everyone is entitled to their opinions and everyone is entitled to their preferences. But at the end of the day, what matters is how you feel in your own skin and how you feel about yourself. And we're going to talk about beauty today. This one's for the ladies, although there are some men out there who wear makeup, and we're all inclusive here. So if you're interested in talking about makeup and kind of hearing my own personal journey with it and why I am now going completely makeup free, then stick around. If you are new here, welcome. Hi, I am Explorivore, otherwise known as Alicia. And if you're coming back to the channel, welcome. Thank you for coming back. It's always nice to hang out with you. I am taking a big step today in that I am decluttering the last piece of my makeup collection. And I'll be honest, because it's not going to be a very satisfying declutter. For those of you that have hung out with my channel before, you know I've talked about not wearing makeup mostly on a daily basis anyway. And if you've seen my videos of the 100 or so that there are, I'd say I have my mascara on in probably like, I don't know, 4 of them. So for most of you, it will be kind of business as usual, kind of like, okay, yawn, what do you mean you're getting rid of the makeup that you don't wear? But it's more of a symbolic thing. The makeup that I have left is just a tube of mascara. So it's not going to be a very hearty declutter. It's literally just one little thing going. But it's symbolic in that I am making a spiritual commitment to what feels authentic for me at this moment in my life. Again, if you've watched any of my other videos, you know authenticity is very, very dear to my heart, and living in alignment with your own truth. While it will look different for every single person because we're all on our same journey, living in alignment with your truth and knowing what it is and taking the steps to be in that authentic version of yourself and express yourself genuinely in the world is not just a healing thing, but I think it's an imperative thing to live a healthy and abundant life. Because when you're living out of alignment with who you truly want to be and who you truly are in every facet, whether it's how you're dressing, who you're hanging out with, what kind of job you're doing, where you're living, how you are spiritually, it's infinite. Your body will start to rebel against you, and not rebel in that it's failing you. You will start to have things show up in your life because the body's always trying to communicate with you, and the universe is always trying to communicate with you. I'm sure lots of people have been there where they all of a sudden their car breaks down and then a bill gets mispaid or something, and then a friend has something terrible happen to them. It's, shit hits the fan. But when things are showing up as incongruent in your life, or you're hitting your head against the wall, they can often be a sign that you are living out of alignment with how you truly should be living. And these are all warning signs. These are all alarm bells for you to wake up and deep dive and take a closer look in and unpack the layers of untruth, of masks that you are wearing figuratively, and then in my case literally with makeup, and to come back into alignment with living how you are supposed to be living. Now, I am absolutely not asserting that if you wear makeup you are being fake or not living in alignment. Absolutely not. I've said this before, but I'll give this disclaimer again. Makeup for a woman or a man or non-binary for a human, it's a personal choice, and I'm not condemning it. I think there's some shadow sides of it, but there's also, at the end of the day, it's personal expression and it is your personal choice. So this is just my journey with it, and I'm speaking to anyone who might be curious about possibly reducing their use of makeup, whether it's the quantity itself or the amount of days you wear it, or what occasions you're wearing for it, or your relationship with it in general. Because for me, it was never just an artistic expression. It was absolutely tied to a deeper emotional belief system that started very, very young, and I think is very pernicious, and it is very strong within the beauty community of, yes, it's wonderful to have artistic freedom and of expression and put things on your face that augment your appearance, and it feels fun to do that. Sure, that's all great, but let's be real, that's not the biggest part of what's going on. The beauty industry and why people buy into it so much is preying upon women's deep-seated insecurity and this deep-seated belief system. Not that it will be, oh, it's just fun to use, but I will look better if I use this. And let's unpack that for a moment, because even that you hear the term for someone that's using minimal makeup saying, oh, it's enhancing my natural beauty. Well, that sounds more harmless of a statement, but it's still saying, I am better with this artificial thing on my face. Me as myself is okay, fine, but using these external products is making me better. And again, if you really do truly feel like that and you don't feel like that's causing any sort of internal conflict or damage, like, okay, fine, I'm just speaking my own experience here. For me personally, it absolutely did some damage for me, and it's taken a long time to unpack certain belief systems that really did affect my psyche and my self-esteem and my ability to love myself. So a quick backstory on my relationship with makeup. I started wearing makeup in really young, like 6th grade when I was 11 years old, and not like subtle. I'm a Gemini and an extremist, and I am an artist, so I was like full-blown mask. By the time I was 7th grade, it was eyeliner and like blue eyeshadow, because, you know, it was the 90s, and lip liner with like the darker lip liner and then the lighter lip gloss, because it was 1997 or whatever. But full face of makeup, and like plucked really thin brows and full concealer. Even if I didn't have zits, it was just a full mask. And of course my dad I would get like grab button, I like lightly like tapped on the wrist, like, hey, like take that stuff off your face, wipe that clown makeup off, because he was being a good parent, because in reality it was a lot of makeup that a 11, 12, 13-year-old did not need to be wearing. But me being the rebel that I am, I still wore it. I would get away with it because, you know, you can do that. But it's funny, back then I definitely, of like my friend circle, wore the most amount of makeup, probably all through high school, I would say, junior high and high school. Now in the days, I mean, this was the 90s, so the internet was not a thing really yet. YouTube certainly wasn't, and Instagram makeup tutorials did not exist. Now, with that world being so prevalent, and I've mentioned before, I'm a teacher and I see this in some of my students, but you just see them out in the world. You'll see 12, 13-year-olds looking like they just came off of a CoverGirl shoot, or that they've got full Kim Kardashian emulating makeup, like lash extensions and the contouring and tattooed on brows or laminated brows. Does anyone know that that's a thing? Maybe this is just a California thing, but it's literally called laminating. Like when I grew up, laminating was when you like covered a sheet in plastic to keep in your binder in school. But now laminating means taking your brows and like pushing them up like this, and then putting something sticky that stays on your face for like weeks to keep them sticking up, because that's the trend. It's funny how trends work. But you see this on 11 and 12-year-olds, and they all seem to be decked out in makeup. And again, I know when you're young, because I had my phase too with it, you want to rebel, you want to express yourself creatively, and that's all part of the growing system, like growing pains and figuring out who you are as a teenager, and that's part of it, and that's okay. But for me, it was absolutely, while it was fun to play with colors, the primary motivator of me putting everything on my face that I did was because I thought I was flat out ugly. The ugly is an ugly word. That sounds redundant, but think about it. Like, think of the energy behind the word ugly. Like, that's carries a lot of weight. And that's, if you think about calling yourself ugly, like that's very sad, but I considered myself an ugly duckling, and I could barely even stand to look in the mirror because I just thought I was just so like Quasimodo abominable to look at. And it's a bummer that I took on that belief system, and it certainly wasn't, you know, I have a loving family that would tell me I'm a pretty young lady or whatever. Like no one was actively calling me ugly, except for maybe some like rando bullies in school that everyone encounters at some point. It wasn't like incessant bullying. I think it was like 1 or 2 instances with a girl that I was in a fight in, like whatever. But it was a belief system I put on myself of, oh, other girls are cute and pretty and nice and get the attention from boys, but I am ugly. Thus, I must put all of this paint on my face to be somewhat pleasing to look at, or at least acceptable to look at. And I carried that on all through junior high and high school, and even in college when I was swimming a million hours and I would get up at the butt crack of dawn. It was still dark out, be in a pool for 6-7 hours and then have to rush and then go to school and be in school all day and then go do work at night. I would barely even shower the chlorine out of my hair in the shower. I wouldn't shampoo my hair just so I would have time to put on makeup to go to school, because I really needed to have eyeliner and blush and eyebrow pencils and mascara and eyeshadow on for accounting 101 or finance, whatever, econ. Like, no, I did not need to have that amount of makeup on, but in my head I did, even though I was like rushing, still dripping chlorine to get to school on time. It was that imperative for me to put that full face of makeup on every day, because I thought I just was absolutely not attractive without it. And there were, of course, times if I was going to like a banquet or something, then it felt sort of fun to put on the makeup and play with colors or be artistic and get that winged eyeliner just right. But most of the time I was putting it on out of obligation, because my face was just flat out unacceptable to the world. That was my belief system. And I think a lot of women really, really do feel this way. I've talked to women that feel this way. And I was so insecure that if I did leave the house without makeup and had to be like, you know, this was more getting older, out of school years, like say going to a coffee shop or the grocery store or like whatever, I would leave my sunglasses on inside, because I was like, oh my gosh, my eyes aren't done. Like I better cover these puppies because you just can't look at them. Like it's comical, but sad to go back on this line of thinking. But I'm sharing it because I don't think I know I'm not alone in this really unhealthy patterning that young, insecure women can fall into. So that was the trajectory all through college. And then when I graduated, I've mentioned before, I was in a Cirque du Soleil style show in Las Vegas. So then I became a performing artist. And then it was my job to put on tons of crazy makeup every day, and it was stage makeup, so it was even more. But that's a different thing when it's your job and your profession and you're being paid to be an artist. And that, like, if I ever did perform again, I certainly would be fine doing that, because that's fun. And it's coming from a different energy when it's your job to play a character. But that was a sort of turning point, because I had to put so much crazy heavy makeup on my face every day, and it was a water show, so it was all waterproof makeup, which, ladies, you know, getting waterproof makeup off your face is like scrubbing. You need like a Brillo pad to get that stuff off. So it started to come to a point where on my off days, it kind of felt nice to not put makeup on, just because I wanted to give my skin a break. But I still would do like more minimum, like, oh, I had to put like concealer on, I had to put some kind of blush on, and usually some kind of mascara, and like do something to my eyebrows, because I still like the idea of a bare naked face, like what I'm wearing now, scared the shit out of me, honestly. I just thought I could not come to terms with the fact that my face might be pleasant to look at. Like that didn't register in my head. And I remember I would say this so many times to like girlfriends or maybe like aunts or whatever, like, oh yeah, there's those girls that don't wear makeup and they're just naturally pretty. You hear that term, naturally pretty. But I said to myself, I am not naturally pretty. I need all of this work and effort to be then desirable. I had very clearly that rubric and definition in my head of I'm not naturally pretty. And that was just my belief system. And that carried really all the way on until age 30. I would give my skin some sort of breaks because I was performing this whole time. But if I was going to dinner or on a date or to a wedding or some sort of other whatever occasion, or even just out for drinks with friends, but like a casual dive bar, it was full face of makeup. It was concealer. It was the MAC Studio NC35. I still remember it. I bought that compact for like 20 damn years. That, and then bronzer, and then highlighter, and then eyeshadow, and then eyeliner, and then mascara, and then brow shadow, Lipstick I always hated because I hate that I just hate the feeling of it. So I at least like was not a huge lipstick person, although I felt like if I didn't have eyeshadow on, then I had to do like big bright red lips or something. It was always very dramatic. But then something happened when I turned 30. It was sort of a collective consciousness shift of lots of things shifting in my life. I ended a relationship that I had been in for 7 years and was now 30 and single for the first time, but coming into womanhood in a new way because I was turning 30, which is, you know, a hell of a lot more who you are at age 30 than age 23 or age 16 or age 11 when I started wearing makeup. And so I was separating from this relationship and I was moving to LA and kind of striking out on my own. And I also became vegan. And that was a very big heart consciousness shift for me that really started pulling out some deeper levels of truth of, yes, this lifestyle of performing and being on stage and in the glitz and glamour. I had a lot of fun doing it, but when I started just opening up to veganism and what that really meant for me, because I've said in other videos, and if you want to check them out, please do so. They are available. They all say just vegan in the title. They're easy to find, vegan, whatever. It opened up my consciousness to this deeper level of connection and purpose and what actually matters in life. Like, oh, being connected to the earth, where I've been so disconnected living in Hollywood and Las Vegas and being on these crazy stages. And before that, training to try and make the Olympic team, which it's a wonderful thing to be in a high level sport, but it's a very myopic world of my whole world was in the pool. And I felt so disconnected from nature and the planet and the animals, but just something shifted in my consciousness that led me to become vegan and that led me to start realizing how much I want to reconnect to the earth and reconnect to nature, which we are a part of, but in the modern world, we've lost so much of our connection to. And along all of that consciousness shifting, something sort of snapped within me, a red pill, if you will, where I looked at all this makeup on my skin and was looking at the ingredients in it and just looking at it was so strange. It was literally, because it's totally subjective. The objectivity was the same. The face of makeup was the same I'd been wearing for years, but whereas I used to look in the mirror after spending 45 minutes on my face and say, okay, yeah, I look better. Now I can go into the world. Now I can go on this date, or now I can go be presentable at this, or be desirable. I started hating what I was seeing. I would see all this gunk on me, and then all of a sudden I was like, I don't want this on my face. And it became this sort of back and forth over the years of I would pull back on it or not know how to do my makeup anymore because there was only ever one look and it was full glam. I didn't know how to do subtle, like, oh, just a dash of mascara or whatever. So I would do full glam and then think like, oh no, I look better. And then all of a sudden I would, like, after a night out on town, come home and be like, oh, this is too much. This is fake, this is gross. And I just started hating the way it felt on my skin. And so I would go and then stop wearing it. And then at some point I started going to work without makeup. And then I remember one night I went out for drinks and like had heels on and still like a cute outfit, but I was like, I'm barefacing it, and just had like a little top knot bun on. And like, part of me felt a little insecure, but part of me felt fucking liberating, like to just be able to be myself in the world. And at this stage in my life too, it's important to note that I was doing a lot of inner work to discover self-confidence and heal a lot of older childhood wounds where I just had really, really low self-esteem, self-worth. And as I was starting to uncover my own personal power as a woman, I just stopped wanting this external thing to make me look okay and started not even okay, we'll use the word beautiful. Like, there's still even that resistance now to say like, yeah, I feel beautiful. There's that tinge of like, ooh, that feels narcissistic or a little self-inflating, or I'm still a little insecure, so I don't always feel beautiful. And that's absolutely the truth. I don't know if anyone's ever going to get to a stage where you can say every single day, I feel so beautiful. Like, maybe you're bloated because you're on your cycle, or you got a zit because you were stressed out, or you had a bad day at work and got chewed out by your boss, so your self-esteem went poo. Like, there's many things that can make us feel not beautiful, but there is an as you come into knowing yourself and knowing your power more, as this really only comes with growing up. I don't know very many 11, 12, 13-year-olds that are really truly confident in themselves, but I started to develop this in my 30s, and it just, the desire to wear makeup just fell away even more. And when I would put it on, it wasn't even a neutrality of, okay, that's nice too, but I'd like to not wear this because I like feeling more natural. Like, it actually, the pendulum swung into, as I said, was alluding to earlier, I felt like it was making me look worse. It didn't feel like the true me, and it would make me just look artificial and haggard and dimming my light, and as woo-woo as that sounds, but it did. It felt like it was dimming my light in a certain sort of way. And I was deep on the path to discovering living more authentically and wanting to express myself authentically in the world, and to cover that up with a bunch of face paint just didn't feel in alignment. And it's now gotten to the point, it was in the past, like probably around COVID, because, you know, there was many months where no one was going anywhere. And then I would go back and like I decluttered to the point where it was just a tube of mascara the past 4 years, really, since COVID. And each time I would go to put it on, I think it was out of obligation. I'm going to a wedding, or I'm going on a date, or I'm going on dinner, or I'm out with family for a nice function or whatever. And it was always, there's still that lingering thing of, okay, I've decluttered a lot and now my makeup's really simple, and who would, you know, raise a fuss about a simple tube of mascara? And I think there are a lot of people that's all they do is just mascara. And again, this is no hate or shade on that, but just my personal character arc with this is it was starting to get, or it got to the point where I didn't even like the mascara. And that's it's almost something that the whole beauty world, or almost every woman would agree, like, oh yeah, mascara just universally makes you look better because it makes your eyelashes pop, makes them look bigger, whatever. But for me, just looking at myself, it's still, and this is the bigger point that I'm getting to, is, yeah, maybe in a photo it looks nicer. And again, it's subjective. So I'm sure there's maybe some people that would look at me and say, yeah, that mascara absolutely does make you look better. And I've even had people say like, oh, you're pretty, but man, it'd be cool to see you in makeup. And like, that sounds like a compliment, but dig under that. That's saying, again, you'd be so much better, even better, if you had all this artificial stuff. But for me, it got to the point where even just the very slight augmentation of mascara, I just have grown to hate it, because I feel like my eyelashes match my eyeballs and my eyebrows. And yes, my lashes without mascara are more subtle, but I feel like the subtlety is just like, this is how I came, this is how I was designed. And if you look to nature, would you ever look at a dolphin or a starfish or a redwood tree or a tulip or chrysanthemum, or the magnolias are starting to bloom here in San Diego, and they're so beautiful, or a hummingbird or a tiger, any of it? Would you look at that and say like, oh, that's nice, but what if I put this kind of paint on it, or this kind of color, or just fixed it a little bit with CGI here, or Photoshop? No one says that or thinks that. But for some reason, as humans, we do that to ourselves. We think that our augmentation and our arbitrary decision to put this color in this way and this shade on that way and cover up this and make this darker or make this lighter is going to make it better. And a really funny example of this, I mean, there's so many examples, but the trend recently in Southern California, at least, I don't know if this is a global thing. I thought of this the other day because someone in the comments had said, I like to keep my makeup natural, but I have very fair skin, so my eyelash, like not albino, but like just the, you know, where you have like freckles and reddish hair, so that tends to have really beautiful, milky, fair skin and light lashes and light brows. And so this person, and again, this is no shade and not saying this person shouldn't do that, but you'll see my point here in a second. This person says, oh, I just do a little bit to darken my lashes and my eyebrows to make them more visible. But it's been a beauty trend lately for women to bleach their eyebrows, even bleach their lashes, to give this ethereal kind of very light, wispy, translucent look. So the exact natural gift that this woman, or, you know, there are various women who have that, you know, light brow, light lash, thinking they need to darken it, it's now become a beauty trend for women who have naturally dark features to bleach them to get that effect. And it's just so funny because we always want what we don't have. I have straight hair. I used to, I mean, it's got a little bit of a wave to it, but it's mostly straightish. I used to curl the crap out of it when I was younger because I thought curly hair was way more beautiful. And you see all the time women with curly hair are doing Brazilian blowouts and using all these chemicals to get straight hair. And women who are pale are tanning. And there are women in India right now bleaching their skin because they want to have lighter skin. The heroin chic Kate Moss look was in the 90s where women starved themselves, and then all of a sudden Kim Kardashian bust on the scene and women are getting butt implants. At least in California. I don't know if butt implants is a global movement yet. I hope not, but if you have one, I hope it's working out for you. I don't know. But the point is we tend to just arbitrarily decide what is beautiful, and it tends to be something outside of ourselves that we weren't given. When I've come to, at least with my own personal journey on this, is what is most beautiful is you and what you were given naturally. And we are just so conditioned to think we need to augment ourselves and improve ourselves when, again, just go outside and look at a flower. Like, what could you do to actually improve that flower? Look at the shell of a June bug. I mean, it's a bug, but if you've ever seen a June bug up close, it's this beautiful, like, iridescent, like purple, turquoise, gold swirled together. Like, could you improve a sunset or the Milky Way? Like, no. So why do we think that we need to improve ourselves as humans and make ourselves look more different than we are? Like, makeup will make you look different, absolutely, but it's not just with myself. When I was younger, I used to see a woman in full glam makeup and be like, oh wow, she's so beautiful. And now I see it and I would never say, oh, she looks ugly with all that makeup. Of course not. But it's, again, what does beauty mean to you? For me, it's seeing the person's natural life and seeing what they came into this world as bare bones human. And I'll see these same women in life that they've got their bare face on that day. And to me, it looks beautiful to see a woman in that light. And so the message is today, I'm not telling you that you need to be makeup free like me, and I'm not going to judge any woman for wearing a little bit of makeup or even a lot of makeup. Like, do whatever you want. And again, of course, there's the total artistic side of it too, which is great and fun. But if you are wearing it out of obligation, if you are wearing it with the story in your mind of this makes me look better, I invite you to maybe unpack that question, and I dare you to pull back on it as an experiment to see, can I love myself completely as I am? Can I think I'm beautiful without anything on my face? And if you want to add it, great. But if you are putting it on out of this belief and insecurity that it is making you better, then that's maybe something to look at, because it is so hard to learn how to love ourselves. And I do think it's a lifelong practice, but particularly with women and the beauty industry, our insecurities are completely preyed upon, and we are pushed this idea that we need so many things to make you beautiful, when at the core of it, you are already beautiful. And however you want to add to that, I wouldn't even call it adding. You can play is great, but you can't be added to, because your uniqueness is the most beautiful version of yourself. At least that is my belief with it. So for you that are still watching, thank you for sticking around today. Here's the declutter. And by the way, it's Lash Princess. It is a good mascara, but for anyone that knows me, you could use a lot of adjectives to describe me, but princess is not one of them. So it's very funny I have this, but here's the declutter. It's gone. All right, that's the video for today. Thank you for watching, my beautiful minimal friends, and enjoy tuning into your most authentic version of yourself and expressing that in the world. Cheers.